Hello friends, this is Growl. I get asked on my stream often about different parts of my UI, so I wanted to compile a video about the most frequently asked "what is this" questions, and also help with some of the common troubleshooting problems when setting up. This is going to be an intermediate level guide. I'm not going to go over in detail how to install or set up basic add-ons, as there's already plenty of videos for that. I'm going to assume you have a basic understanding already of World of Warcraft UI setup and are looking to incorporate different parts of my UI into yours. Before I begin, I want to mention something very important. If you want to succeed playing this game, especially as a healer, you need to have a good working understanding of your UI. You don't need to know the ins and outs of every setting, but you should be able to make small changes or add or remove spells from your frames or weak auras to help your visibility. Just because I'm a high rated healer, if you copy my UI, that doesn't make you a high rated healer, but watching my videos might. If you're installing any of these add-ons for the first time, like Weak Auras or Voodoo, be sure to play around with them a little bit. Go check out a video or a guide to learn how to use them. It's going to be a nightmare for you down the line if you just copy exactly what I have without knowing how to use them, and then a patch comes out that breaks something or an ability changes, or you simply just want to customize something. Now that I got that out of the way, let's get started. So the first thing I get asked about on my UI a lot is my Weak Auras in the middle of my screen. It's just a nice way to show skills that takes up a little bit less space. I have a link for my Weak Aura package in the description. It was not originally made by me, but I've modified it a little bit. If you open up your Weak Aura menu, you just go to New Aura and import and paste that mess in there, and then bam, it's working. Should be easy plug and play. The next thing that I want to talk about is my Voodoo frames. They're going to be a little bit tougher to copy, but there'll only be a few things that you need to do. For Voodoo, I'll have a link for that in the description as well. You simply just go to Tools and import it in here. After that, you may want to set up your mouse over macros. If you haven't used Voodoo before, I don't think these come with profiles. I think these are separate for each user. You go to spells and then mouse and keys local, and this is where you can put in any spells that you want to use mouse over macros for. If you're already using this for in the in-game macro window, then you don't have to do this, but I find this a little bit easier. The next thing I want to talk about is bouquets. I'm going to pull up a video to help explain it since I'm not in a group right now. If you see the way that HOTS and spells are displayed on my frames, I have a lot of them. And I often get asked, how do you show this or how do you show that? You can generally do this on any frame add-on. This is just how I do it in Voodoo. So don't think that you have to change your frame add-on just to get this working. You may just have to figure out how to do it in yours. So there's two different ways that Voodoo shows buffs or like cooldowns or whatever. The first is just listing them one by one. So for example, my Rejuve, my Regrowth, and my Life Bloom are all listed all the time, and nothing will ever be shown in that slot except for those three. The next thing is what's called bouquets. A bouquet in terms of Voodoo is just multiple HOTS or buffs that are on the same slot so that it doesn't clutter your screen. It'll only show the one with the highest priority that you set up. I use both individual HOTS and bouquets for setting up my UI. And for whatever reason, bouquets need to be imported separately from UI. So if you're just importing my profile, you may not see this stuff, especially the rows on the end of the party frames. So to get that set up, you open up your Voodoo options, you go to General, and then bouquets, and this is the list of all of them. There's a few in there by default, but I have all mine set up manually. The links are in the description of the Voodoo profile link. There should be 4 of them. All you need to do is go to import and paste in that mess, and then bam, you have them. If they're still not working, you go to panels, hot icons, and this is the list of everything that's shown. You can change how it's displayed on yours. This is just how it is on mine. So you can see for the first 3 is just HOTS, and then the 4 through 7 are bouquets that I have set up. Make sure that you click the drop down and you have the bouquet selected after you've imported it. If you ever want to see what's in there or change the order, you simply just go to edit. It opens up this other window again. You can see this is just a small one that I have set up with a few less common HOTS. For instance, Grove Tending, Cenarian Ward, Cultivation, and Wild Growth are all on one spot. And that should be it with Voodoo. After setting up your bouquets and your mouse over macros, you should be good to go. But there are a few other things that people ask about my frames. Again, we'll go back to this this clip that I have. The one thing is the party cooldowns on the left side. This is a weak aura, not a function of voodoo. So you can do this with any party frame that you use. I'll have a link for this in the description. Be sure to read through the link in the description, and you may need to read through comments if this isn't working for you, because there may be certain dependencies or certain settings that you have to enable. Another common setup is when you import it, it doesn't automatically import in dungeons, so be sure to check the loading conditions of the weak aura to see that it's loading where you want it to. For example, mine, if you open my game back up, doesn't load in town. It only loads when I'm in a dungeon, so you won't be able to see it just sitting around in town. The other one, which is almost identical to that one, is the targeted party spells. This puts a little icon in the middle of their party frame when they're being targeted by an ability. Hopefully when we fight this blob, you'll be able to see that. So you can see right here in the middle of my frame, you see that little icon that shows that the tentacle is targeting me with Mind Flay. This, again, is a weak aura, and you can do this with any add-on. It's not a function of voodoo. You just simply copy the weak aura that's in the description, and that will get working for you. Again, it may have certain dependencies that you need to install if you don't have that already. Next, I want to talk about my nameplates. I use an add-on called KUI Nameplates. I don't have too much customization on it. It's mostly just standard. I'm sure there are lots of other people with good nameplate profiles. Again, you could use Plater or LVUI nameplates. Anything that you use is fine. This is just what I use. One thing that I get asked a lot about is I don't show party health bars in dungeons. You can see on my clip here, you can see my party members, but it doesn't show their health bars. This is, again, you can do this with any nameplate add-on, or even I think with base UI. This is just how I do it. In KUI, you go to the CVers tab. You may need to check this box. This is just enabling advanced options, if you will. And then there's a checkbox that says high default health bar. You can see it requires a reload. And so you can play around with this to get the health bar hidden so that you can still see the nameplates on your allies without having to see the health bar. Since you're a healer, you should be looking at that anyway. Next, we'll talk about OPI, or OPI. This is an add-on that I use for my potions. It simply allows you to bind a lot of spells to one button, and then it gives you a circle, and then you can move your mouse in a direction to activate it. I really only use this for potions because I use, let's say, 7 or 8 or even 9 different potions in a dungeon, and I think it's a waste to use hotkeys for every single one of them. You can use this for lots of cosmetic things too, like mounts or whatever, or maybe food buffs or scrolls. A lot of people see this and they're like, man, what is that? Is that a weak aura or something? So this is actually an add-on called OPI, O-P-I-E. The next one that gets asked a lot, I'll go back on my dungeon run, is the spells on the left side of the party window. This is not a function of voodoo. This is actually a separate add-on. I mainly just use this for review. My brain is certainly not big enough to be watching these spells on the left of my screen, knowing what all my teammates are casting. The add-on is called Trophy GCD, and along with OP, I'll have all the names in the description if you want to get the exact spelling of everything. Also, Trophy GCD is this little window here on the top of mine that shows mine. All of these scrolling ability displays by each frame is Trophy GCD. I generally only use this for review so I can see what's going on after when watching it. I almost never look at any of this while I'm in a run. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is my timer add-on. I don't use the default dungeon timer, not that it does much, but I just like the way this one looks a little bit better. It's called Mythic Plus Timer, all one word. And if you like the way this looks, you can just download that on. I don't think I did any configuring for it, and it'll look like that for you too. Another common timer add-on that people use is called Gotta Go Fast, so maybe you could try that one if you wanted to see how that one looks as well. That's it. That mostly covers the frequently asked questions about my UI. Hopefully, if you were having problems with voodoo bouquets or the targeted spells weak auras, I answered your questions enough to get it set up for you. If you have any more questions or anything else that you see on my screen, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll try and get to them when I can. Happy keying, friends.